Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. Today we're going to do a character guide on Golbez. I know I'm like super late on this one. It's just been like way too busy, like crazy busy. But I said I'd get this one out and some people have been asking for it. So today we're going to take a look at Golbez. We're going to look at his calls, his artifacts, and his spheres. Golbez is just, he's a pretty straightforward character. He's a dark damage dealer. I mean, that's really all he is. His BT does have a little bit of nice utility with it, which we'll talk about. I do actually have his BT. He's one of these characters that, he's just an old BT that I had. I didn't green it. It is plussed. And we are going to look at him with an Ultima weapon. So this is going to be a pretty good, stat boosted Golbez. Now, I didn't blue his armor or anything like that. He's not a character I feel like I'm going to use a lot. But I think we're going to get a pretty good look at what he can do here. But just keep in mind, he's pretty much a straight up damage dealer. So we're going to kind of see how he looks here. I forgot I got to fix my party here. I meant to put Rosa in here. Let me just grab Rosa quick. We're going to juice him up with Rosa and Aerith and try to make him look really good. But let's look at his artifacts and his spheres, right? So for his artifacts, pretty easy as a damage dealer. You want to go attack 108 and then Lunarian Descent boost 2-star, which is the C50 passive, which is going to give you max Raven attack. That's definitely what I would go with there. And then we're going to go into the spheres. Now, my spheres are not best in slot. I put my spheres on him a long time ago, and I put a couple of full spheres, and I kind of just don't want to override them. But what I'm going to say is this. He deals weakness damage, and Golbez, I would say, one of his big weaknesses is that he lacks Brave gains in his kit. So the damage he does on Brave hits is really important. So I think Brave damage is like the most important stat you can give him on like the A spheres. So if you can give him something like Rydia is really good because it is weakness damage and you get attack and Brave damage, which is really solid. I think 7 would be probably like his best one. Because 7 is a weakness damage trigger and it's just Brave damage. So I feel like 7 would be, if you really like Golbez, I would go with 7 for sure. Get him some more Brave damage and help him out. Once again, A's like the biggest roster of spheres out there, so I'm not going to go through them all. But just look at what you got. Find something he can trigger that, either attack or Brave damage or a combination of it. But I would favor Brave damage over attack if you can. And just remember that he is carrying weakness damage, so he can do those weakness damage spheres, right? Now, on the E slot, I did give him, back in the day, I did give him the Thancred, because this does add the poison on for just a little bit of utility, and it's a weakness damage trigger. So if you want to give him poison, like Thancred could be a fun one. Otherwise, you would go with an attack, and I would say Emperor would probably be a pretty good one for him, because he debuffs quite a bit. Because he does like a Dark Imperil down on the enemies with a few of his skills. So I would say Emperor is like what you do if you want an attack sphere. I think Yuffie could be good as well. There could be times that one falls off a little bit, but I would say if you're going to go for attack, maybe go Emperor on that one. So those are the spheres, and then we'll go ahead and let's take a look at him, see what he can do here. What I'm going to do is I'm probably, whatever his first turn is, I'm just going to hop in with a burst phase, because, hey, we'll grab Willow-Wolf's selfie here, sure. Since I don't have his BT green, I can't just like pop the BT skill, right? So I'm going to have to do his BT phase either way to show it. So I might as well just hop into it right away, show all of his skills, and then we can just ramp into a force, right? So let's just do that right off the bat here. We'll just go BT phase. We'll hit his Dark Enchant, his AA. Now his Dark Enchant does Dark Enchant himself, which he's already doing dark damage. But something that some players misunderstand, if a character is carrying an element and they get enchanted for the same element, it actually increases the Brave damage from that element. So it's not wasted. It's kind of like, it's like it stacks, right? Because when you're dealing weakness damage, you're essentially just increasing the weakness damage you do, the Brave damage you do. And so when you enchant over something that's already that element, you're just increasing the Brave damage you do. So it is worth it to like over enchant like that. And then we're going to go ahead and go into his burst phase. Now, this is going to be kind of the shorter, weaker version of the burst phase, but we can go through his skills and then kind of explain everything, right? Now, we're going to start with the EX. You did notice that my Golbez did start with the EX up, so we're going to hit that right away. And I'm kind of curious what he's going to do. Now, this is without BT effects up. Okay, 1.7 AoE. I mean, that is good damage, right? Like, that's pretty good EX damage. It is dark damage. He's going to give him a buff called Shadow Dragon, and then Atonement for Hatred, and then it's going to put a Dark Imperil down on the enemies. Now, the reason why you want to open with the EX, one is typically when they give you that EX to start, you usually want to pop it. But for him, this Shadow Dragon buff, right? It's a stacking buff that stacks up to 3. His EX just puts it at 3 stacks. So that's why it's really good to open with that, because then you get the max stacks right away. And then you got it for 6 turns. And then once you get it for 6 turns, it's going to basically every time your EX comes up, you want to hit it again, and you're going to refresh it at 3 stacks, right? So it's attack max brave up, and it's going to be higher depending on the stacks. And then at 3 stacks specifically, you get brave and HP damage taken down 60%. So who knew it? Golbez is actually a tank. 60% less HP damage and brave damage. Actually pretty good, right? And then when hitting weakness damage, he gets extra brave stolen up, which is really nice. And Golbez, by the way, he's always really been focused on hitting that weakness damage. So he gets a lot of weakness damage buff. So if he can't hit weakness damage for whatever reason, obviously if his element's absorbed, he's pretty much locked out of the fight, right? Which is one of the big flaws that he has. But, you know, as long as enemies can be, take dark weakness damage, then you should be good to go to use them, right? And then we'll just do the 15 to 35. So let's go ahead and hit Rising Wave. So Rising Wave is more your single target attack with the little splash, 1.7. So yeah, his damage, I mean, considering I don't have BT effects up, I think he's hitting like probably 2 mil on those. We'll see in a little bit. So his damage does seem very solid. So yeah, that was a 9 HP dumping attack for his 15 CP. That's pretty good. And he gets a buff called Man in Black Armor, which is just an attack of max brave up. And then Glare Hand is like the AoE attack. So it's pretty much single target or AoE. You pick what you want. About a mil AoE there. That one is an AoE split HP attack, 5 dumps on it. Also the Man in Black Armor buff, and that also Dark Imperil. So pretty basic, right? You just use those kind of as filler, maybe to refresh that buff, or if you want to put the Dark Imperil back down. And then we've got the LD, which is called Black Fang. All right, 1.7 again. Okay. So that's another 9 HP dump. So to me, Black Fang and Twin Meteor, they look like they're hitting about the same, right? One thing that's cool about the LD is after you use it, his buffs durations will go up by 2 turns. So it's going to increase the buff duration by 2, which is nice. It's going to give him the Shadow Dragon buff at 3 stacks. It's going to give him the Black Fang buff, and it's going to Dark Imperil. The Black Fang buff is going to be HP damage up, Brave gains up, and Overflow Stolen up. So just some other nice little buffs there. And then we'll go ahead and hit the FR. We'll talk about his FR conditions and all that when we actually use it later on. Partnering with Freya, huh? Interesting combo. Interesting little wombo combo. 2.2 solid damage. So like all of his damage kind of seems like the average to like maybe slightly above average range. I would say he's probably slightly above average on his damage because once again, we don't have any BT effects up. And those were pretty good numbers. So now we're doing his BT attack here. That damage was super weak, 300k, but once again, it's a big difference between like not having a green, right? So once you have a green, he's probably doing like over a mil on that. But let's talk about the BT effect. Now keep in mind, you're not going to see the full effect in effect here, but just so that we know what it does, right? So the big thing that it does that's unique, that I think is kind of cool, is that while his burst effect is up, the enemies can't gain or steal brave. So it's essentially a freeze without being a debuff. So he has freeze, which it freezes extremely powerful. So I do think that is a very notable part about him to help you be a little bit more defensive. So yeah, between the freeze on his BT and the fact that he does lower brave and HP damage quite a bit, he is kind of a pseudo tank. I don't think we really think of him as a tank, but he can do some things to protect, right? And then if you have it green, he gets a really fat attack up, he gets a brave damage up, brave damage limit up, and then an HP damage limit up, and it's even bigger for Golbez, and then overflow stolen up. So kind of some like typical buffs, but once again, the unique thing is you get that freeze on it, which I think is very good. Let's go ahead and pray a little bit. And actually, sure, let's just grab selfie. Let's just do some mega ramp here. We're just going to ramp like crazy. And get to FR as soon as we can. And then we'll try to do a Golbez force time. I think is what we're going to try and do here. And his conditions like are actually super easy. So that is one good thing about him is if you're using him as your main DPS, it's a fight where the dark stuff works. His FR is going to be pretty free. It is going to be pretty dang free. You have to run him though with like non-elemental characters though. Because dark damage is going to be a big part of his FR, obviously. Rosa, let's go ahead and let's pop the BT with her. Get some more BT effects flowing here. Oh, dang. See, I got to remember to do this. I got to fix my... Because my red crystal passives are still set to, like, Kelger setup. So, like, Aerith doesn't have like the 2 turns in a row, which I really like to have. So I got to remember to change that. As soon as I'm done with this fight, we're going to do that. All right, Paladin Cecil coming in for a shot. All right, so Aerith, what we're going to do is we are just going to ramp. And then we'll just end with her BT, and then we'll go into Golbez FR. Ramp, ramp. All right, one more ramp should get us there. Perfect, and then we'll end with the BT. Wow, we actually beat these guys. These guys go pretty quick, but we did have a lot of ramping, and we did that whole burst phase, so it just gave us enough of a lead to kind of get ahead here. So that's good. We won't have to deal with these guys' shenanigans on their force time where, like, I can't buff or whatever. Or the buff duration's, like, super short. Alright, so now we got BT effects. So Golbez should be looking a little bit better here. And we're going to go ahead and hit his FR. So Dragon Crest Fiery Glow. Alright, see what this looks like here. Just to compare the damage. Now we got BT effects out. Okay, yeah, 2.5 mil. That went up actually quite a bit. So yeah, I would say his damage is pretty dang solid. Because we saw like really good numbers without BT effects up. And he was looking pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about the FR here. So what's cool about his FR is during the force time, that's how we get Party Dark Enchant. So the party now is Dark Enchanted. The party's HP damage limit is up by 50% when you deal Elemental Weakness, and the party Brave damage limit is up by 50% when you're doing Elemental Weakness. Once again, Golbez is built around doing Dark Weakness damage. So here's the HP damage conditions, and this is why they're free. You do Dark damage, 35%. You do Weakness damage, 40%. So if you have Golbez in the party, which you will for his FR, and his FR is Dark Enchanting, provided the party members aren't already another element, this is a completely free 75%. Now, you do have to deal damage to trigger it. So, like, Aerith isn't going to echo as crazy off of it. But here, let's do, like, a Rosa Echo here. This Rosa Echo should get all of it, right? It should be dark damage, and it should be weakness damage. Because I don't think Rosa carries, I don't think she carries an element, right? She's not holy. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, 98%. So, for attacking echoes, it's a very good condition. Right? And then even like Aerith, she'll still get the 80%. So, I mean, if you're doing a lot of attacking echoes, it's looking pretty good. So Golbez now, sure, let's hit that Twin Meteor. So this is at like 220%. Yeah, about 6 mil, like pretty early on. It's not bad. Like his damage definitely seems solid, but, you know, that's pretty much what he is, right? He's pretty much just damage. I do like the freeze on the BT, I will admit that. But Golbez, you know, he's really not the damage deal you probably want to be pulling for. Like, he's not touching Astos. He's not touching Kelger. This is a character that, like, you're pretty much only going to pull if he's, like, a fan favorite. Or if you're someone that previously built him, then just grabbing the FR is a really good idea. Because he does seem like he's going to be solid. And if you're Dark Crystal Room, another consideration, right? But yeah, let's go ahead and ramp again. Let's get a little bit higher. I'd like to get to like pretty much max 999 gauge, and just see what he can do with a couple of attacks, right? And once again, characters are echoing pretty good. All the attacks are going to be very good. Let's do a Seal Evil, I think. Actually, let's do this. Let's get the gauge a little bit. Or no, I was going to Healing Wind, but her overhead's already full. So yeah, let's just Seal Evil. Okay. Alright, we should see a pretty high gauge here for Golbez's next attack, which is good. We'll echo too. Keep this gauge very high, and, you know, we'll take this fight to the end of force time. Let's see what kind of damage Golbez can do. Golbez, by the way, is the type of character I think would be worth doing a damage test on, but I don't think it's fair. Like, I don't have him fully maxed, so I don't know if I'm going to want to do a damage test on, like, a not maxed out character. But I feel like he is the type of character that would warrant a damage test. I feel like I am seeing pretty good numbers out of him. But really, the EX and LD are kind of the really big numbers. Let's do an Echo, though. How about, like, at 641, what do we got on an Echo here? I would say is FR, LD, and EX. Those are really the big buttons you want to press for big damage. All right, yeah, 17 mil. That's pretty good. For how, you know, for where the gauge was at, we'll take 17 mil. All right, we're going to set him up, I think, for max gauge on his next turn. And we'll maybe pop the LD, because the LD, we saw earlier, it did like the exact same amount of damage as the EX, so we could probably safely say that the EX and LD will do the same, since we don't have his EX up yet. Alright, so we're going to do that. At 78, we're pretty much there. I think Aerith, we're going to just do like maybe 1 or 2 ramps just to get us up there. And then Golbez looks like he's got like a couple of turns coming. So let's go ahead and let's do this. It should ramp for 50 something at least, right? Yeah, 53. Okay, so we're going to do 1 more of those. I know I'm wasting force turns, but for the sake of the experiment, this will get Golbez like 2 turns at a max gauge, right? We'll hit Fury Brand. Alright, now I want to see LD damage on this next turn, and then maybe we'll do like a 15 or 35. I was kind of really liking the damage on the 15 because it is 9 dumps. Alright, so we got 20 mil for Aerith there. Yeah, I mean, these enemies are melting pretty good. Alright, let's do an LD. This should be good damage. Here's a Black Fang at full gauge. So just to kind of compare to other characters, what is he doing? And this is really supported, right? Okay, 27 mil AoE though. So that was what, 40? That was like 58 million damage. That's not too bad. That's solid, right? Once again, you don't really compare to Astos, right? Astos is kind of nutty. So the fact that I felt like Kelger over time is kind of similar to Astos is really good. Sure, let's just do this. I want to do AoE. I just want to knock them both back here. Alright, and then this will be Golbez's last attack. Oh, and we do have the EX, so sure, we'll pop the EX and we'll see, is it just going to be 27 mil? Might be. Alright, Golbez. Let's hit your EX. Twin Meteor. Yeah, about 27 mil. So yeah, pretty much exactly the same. So yeah, I would say his damage is definitely solid. If you really value the freeze, like, he could be worth it. But like I said, I think for damage dealers, he's really got to be kind of low priority right now. But if you like him, he's definitely doing good enough damage, like, to get by. I just think Golbez, if I'm going to be really honest, like, he's a character that's going to fall off a cliff, like, super fast. Like, I could see even within, like, the next week or two, like, people aren't even going to be, like, talking about this guy. So, but once again, if you like him, he's definitely, like, good enough to get you through some lockout content. He's good enough to do Shinryu. Like, his damage is fine. It's just damage is the thing that falls off the fastest, unless you're ridiculous like Astos, right? So anyways, let me know what you think of Golbez. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.